friends and supporters in the Caribbean and globally. Thank you for coming to this press conference called by us, the promoters of the annual White in the Moonlight event. My name is Nimrod Olivier, originally from Fontenoy in St. George's. And with me here today is one of my very good friends. He was also my teacher in IFE, A-level economics. He's a mentor to me, and he's also an advisor for the matter that we're dealing with, Dr. Patrick Antoine. To my left is legal counsel, Mr. Dickon Mitchell, and to the far right is another friend of mine, the owner of Moonlight City and a fellow promoter for White in the Moonlight, Mr. Daigo Peters. Together, this is the team that has been both behind the scenes and in the media fighting to bring to light what SMC is doing to stop us from hosting the show. Missing today also is my other partner who is in New York. Unfortunately, he can make it down, Mr. Egbert Romain. It is with a very sad heart that I address you this morning. At the outset, let me state for the record that I have a grave concern for the state of affairs in Grenada as it relates to carnival and culture on a whole. The statutory body that has been selected to run carnival in Grenada has demonstrated that it's completely inept and unable to run carnival effectively. Since February of 2012, I wrote the body regarding hosting of our annual show, White in the Moonlight, on Carnival Saturday night. A response that was supposed to take 1 week, as indicated by SNC, took approximately over two months, about 2.5 months. And that response only came after I had written as much as 3 letters. In March of this year, SMC had a promoters meeting where they called for partnership. I called on Mr. Dow seeking some clarification as to what does the partnership entail. I got no clarification from Mr. Dow. He basically told me that they were leaving it up to the promoters to come up with ideas and suggestions for the framework for the partnership. I told him this made absolutely no sense and that the Spice Mass Corporation does not know what they're doing. Why would a private promoter develop ideas, come up with ideas, and then turn it over to Spice Mass Corporation? Around the middle of April, Spice Mass Corporation informed us that they had deemed our show White in the Moonlight to have competing interests with Fantastic Saturday or Panorama, and hence they could not allow us to have the show. In one of my previous letters, I had offered the Spice Mass Corporation $10,000 upfront and 5% of our profit. No mention, however, was made in the denial letter in regards to my offer for partnership. Let it be clear that I didn't have to make this offer to Spice Mass Corporation, but I did so in the best interest of culture and for further development. After several frustrating conversations with Spice Mass Corporation and particularly with Mr. Dow, nothing much was achieved. I retained an expert advisor and legal counsel, and only then did we make some headway with Spice Mass Corporation. But even at that point, they had adopted such a draconian and totalitarian and cynical attitude that whatever progress was being made was very minimal. Mr. Dow often speaks of the Spice Mass bill and its drawing from St. Vincent's Carnival legislation. I was saddened. How could this be a proud moment in Grenada's culture? I had always seen carnival activity in Grenada right next to that of those in Trinidad and Tobago, who we all know is the mecca of carnival in the region. How come Grenada was now drawing insights about carnival from an island that has only one nightclub? As a young lad in GVSS during the 1980s, I always envisioned Grenada as being the forefront of the OECS for carnival and cultural activities. Primarily, we were the de facto leader, next to Trinidad, as I stated earlier. I guess Mr. Dow and his cohorts view us as being positioned differently, perhaps somewhere close to the very bottom. As time passed, I informed Mr. Dow that there were rumblings of another soccer show being held in the stadium on the same night as Panorama. He vehemently denied that, and in his words, not true. In another conversation when I presented some facts, Mr. Dow decided to come partially clean and said they, meaning the SMC, had decided to partner with a local promoter to do a soca show. I immediately cried foul and asked, how could you attempt to stop our show, yet you're giving another promoter the green light to do a show on the same night? Something smelled very fishy to me at that point. Mr. Dow told me White in the Moonlight is a fete, and a fete isn't part of carnival, and he's not mandated to protect fetes. The only components of carnival that requires protecting, according to him, are mass, pan, and calypso, not soca fete. That was very shocking to me. I then asked, what's the classification for the show that SMC was partnering to do on Saturday night? Mr. Dow did not respond. It must also be noted that during a call with Mr. Dow in early June, I told him that I was contacted by a band manager and a promoter from Trinidad in regards to an all-inclusive fete being held in St. George's on Carnival Sunday, the Mashma night as we call it. Mr. Dow once again vehemently denied any knowledge of such fete in front of 12 witnesses that was on the conference call with us. And he stated that no one had contacted him or Spice Mass Corporation in regards to this Sunday fete. Immediately after the press conference, within a week, an email dated May 7, 2012 surfaced showing an exchange of dialogue between a local hotel manager and Mr. Dow, discussing the same all-inclusive fete, which he said he had no knowledge about. It was at that point that I came to accept that the corporation has been masquerading and lying to us, the promoters, and the Grenadian public all along. It became evident to us that a backroom deal was cut to stop White in the Moonlight so that the other soca show with another private promoter could take place in the stadium on Carnival Saturday night. On Tuesday, June 5th, during a conference call with some Spice Mass Corporation members, myself, my legal counsel, and my other partners, Mr. Dow suggested that we move White in the Moonlight to Carnival Monday night. And I literally thought it was a trick. How could the Spice Mass Corporation that professed to protect mass be actually suggesting to us to compete with Monday Night Mass? Monday Night Mass is a big part of Carnival celebration and one of the mainstays of the Carnival season. Once again, Spice Mass Corporation motive and judgment was called into question. We can't compete with PAN, yet there was Spice Mass Corporation encouraging us to compete with Monday Night Mass. We rejected this suggestion. What the Spice Mass Corporation had not realized was that we were made clever to their ways and their true intentions by a source who had alerted us 3 weeks prior of the googly Mr. Dow and his Spice Mass Corporation were about to bowl us. In fact, both in Grenada and in Trinidad, promoters of the new show were stating that Spice Mass Corporation would make us move White in the Moonlight to Carnival Monday. We conveyed that we had learned that of such moves to Mr. Dow, who tried in vain to assure me this option was only discussed a week prior to him suggesting to me. I know that was untrue, because 3 weeks prior to that, I got a call from Grenada that this was a suggestion that they were coming up with. Yet Mr. Dow said to me, no, we have only discussed that a week before, so there's no way you could have heard it 3 weeks prior. In fact, members of the Spice Mass Corporation even suggested moving Soca Monarch from the usual Friday night to Saturday night. And then we can have the show on Saturday night after Soca Monarch finishes at 1 a.m. This was ludicrous. I love Soca Monarch. I go to every Soca Monarch, and I've yet to go to a Soca Monarch that finishes at 1 a.m. According to the plan, the constellation would have been shifting Panorama from Saturday night to Friday night. After some more debating and talk, SMC finally relented, started feeling good. They agreed for White in the Moonlight to happen only if we paid them $135,000 in cash, upfront, to be fully paid 2 weeks in advance of the hosting of White in the Moonlight.